Okay, good morning. It's 9:16 a.m. on Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Welcome to the Polity Thursday edition, 12th day of February 2026. My name is Franklin Lebekan. Just to remind you that what we do on the Polity is that we bring you newspaper headlines and take analysis on some of the topical developments in the Polity. And I'm always joined by Tony Olisambeki, who is the in-house analyst who offers insight into all this development. So we urge you to join us as we begin today's program. Of course, we are live on our Facebook page, Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Get on that very platform, drop your comment, like the page, like the video, and also share. You can also join us on our YouTube and the Instagram channels, Udala Radio. So, okay, this very morning there are some interesting stories in the newspapers we are going to bring it today because former Kano Governor Rabi Kwankwaso is in the news. Likewise, Mieti Allah and some other persons, they are in the news because of what the U.S. House of Reps is trying to do. U.S. House of Reps is trying to take a step that could impose visa ban on Rabi Kwankwaso and some other persons. This is contained in the papers today. And then, if you leave that very one, the governor of Anambra State is also in the news because yesterday he was at the Aso Rock, where he had a closed-door meeting with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and he went alongside the chairman of Kron Group, Sir Emeka Ofo. And after that very closed-door meeting, he had interactions with the media where he talked about the number of criminal camps that have been busted in Anambra State ever since the launch of Agone Chamber and what have you not. He also spoke about the reopening of markets on Mondays and plenty of other things that he talked about. Then if you leave that and check other papers too, you also see some other stories talking about the heated exchange that happened yesterday during the defense of the budget of the Ministry of Works. That exchange initially was between Oshomole and the Minister of Works, Dave Umahi, before he now moved to between Senator Peter Nwebonyi and Senator Hanga. And it was a big exchange, I must tell you. All these things are reported this very morning on these very papers. Then there are some other interesting stories you might see, like reactions still trailing the passage of the Electoral Act Amendment Bill by the Senate. You see some other groups who are still reacting to what the Senate did and some other stories. So all these things you are going to find interesting on these very pages. Then outside of what is contained in newspapers, city boys are in the news. If you check X, check Facebook, they are in the news because some Igbo billionaires donated about 100 units of new buses to the group to help them facilitate the work they are going to do for Mr. President ahead of 2027 general election. So at this point in time, let's bring in Tony Olisambeki. Good morning, Tony.
Good morning to you, Franklin Ebuka. Good morning, Nigerians. Good morning, the good people of Southeast. Good morning, Undi Anambra. Good morning, Ndi Onitsha. Good morning, Ndi Osumo. Good morning, Ndi Onitsha Market. And good morning, everyone. Ndi Afia, Ndi Oluaka, Ndi Oluoyibo, Nkuzi, Ndi Nanye Fobo Nanya, the transporters. Those who are on the road rendering essential service. You will not even know how these services are. The security agents, Ndolon Chakwa, and everyone. Not forgetting the farmers, because some of them when they none at different places in the riverine areas, the agricultural belts areas. So we appreciate everyone. We welcome you to this very program. As usual, we usually try as much as we can to give you the other side of the story, the other side, the ones not so much made popular. We try to give you everything expected. We thank God Almighty for making us alive to be to be alive this very day. And today is Thursday, the 12th day in the month of February in the year 2026. And we thank God Almighty for His mercy, for His love, for His kindness, Thank you so much and welcome.
Okay, so Tony, before we begin looking at the headlines we have on the paper this very morning, I talked about what trended yesterday on social media, especially on X and on Facebook, regarding the story about some Igbo business community that donated about 100 units of a 2026 model brand new Toyota Hiace buses to the City Boy movement to support its operations in the southeast. And I also learned that apart from the buses that were donated, there's some other gadgets like tricycles, laptops, POM machines, phones, cash prizes were also donated. And these things are meant for employment of about 10,000 Igbo youths, market women in support of their businesses ahead of 2027 general election. We know that when the City Boys movement of a thing, the southeast area was was set up, and the popular Obikubana was appointed the coordinator for southeast. He came with so much backlash, people questioning why he should do that. In fact, yesterday and 2 days ago, it was Peter Fayoshe, right? Yeah, Peter Fayoshe, Isaac Fayoshe. He also waded into this very conversation, tongue lashing Obikubana why he should accept such a job and what have you not. But now, look at what is happening. I see the Igbo community, business community, donating such to this very movement.
Well, just like you have known, and many have also known, we know very well that the City Boy movement is pioneered by the son to Mr. President. And we know very well he has been shopping around, recruiting quite a number of people across the country. And we know very well that this is actually in line to ensure a seamless re-election of his father, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. We're going to talk about some of the Igbo boys or Igbo billionaires that made that very donation. But meanwhile, first and foremost, remember the City Boy movement is a youth-driven political support group primarily focused on mobilizing and empowering young Nigerians and women to back President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and his renewed hope agenda. It was first established in 2022 during Tinubu's presidential campaign for the 2023 election, where it served as a grassroots support structure for his victory. Just like I said earlier on, Sheyi Tinubu, barrister, is the arrow of that very group. And this group, we are told, operates nationwide. But let's talk about these Igbo boys, our billionaires, that made certain donations. Of course, we know number of them made quite a number of donations from Zenko. I know many of them did so much. Obikubana, we know very well, is the coordinator for Southeast. We also have Chief Christian Okonkwo of Sea Energy, Oil and Gas. So we know very well there are many other ones. Even the Kubana Chief Priest, Enviable. I think Obi Kubana is the one who is the CEO of Enviable Group, and there's so many of them. Top businessmen from Southeast, Anambra. Many of them donated over 100 buses for empowerment, and these donations, for me, according to them, is for logistics, grassroots mobilization in the Southeast, and youth empowerment initiatives tied to the movement. But there are many people who are not happy with the way and manner these things are going. Like I said earlier on, we know these billionaires, they are across the country. They have businesses across the country. So they have businesses in West, they have businesses in the East, they have in the South and the North. So their businesses span across different arteries of this country. But the truth remains that some people are not happy. I've had certain conversations that they have been bought over, that instead of supporting one of their own, they are busy donating cash, donating all sort of buses in line or probably to see to the re-election of Mr. President. Yes, I have had such conversations. In fact, even where I was coming out from this very morning, the conversation was rife. But remember, this is a democratic society. And so many of them have said, why didn't they contribute such kind of thing to P2B to see to his election? Remember, well, government, I remember Wike's statement in one of the exchanges he had with Chey Makinde. He told Chey Makinde, you have money, I have power. And we know what that means. Somebody who has power will definitely cut their teeth when it becomes very, very nasty. The point I'm trying to make here is this. We know our brothers. We know they were actually brought by Jay Tinubu, and many of them are his friends. And they are doing this for friendship's sake. And none of them have come out to say Peter wouldn't make a good president, or we are doing this for this. But then we know why they are doing this, possibly for their business. And if you look at some of the cars that have been running on the City Boy movement, you have luxury coaster, highest buses, the ones that cost between 50 to 150 million each, depending on the model and specs. So even if you look at the buses they have donated, that is humongous. But one thing about Ndibo is this: they are not moved by these optics. They are not. But I will not condemn Obi Kubana. I wouldn't say they have been bought over. How these are billionaires already, and possibly they may be doing this to widen their business ventures. They are also government contractors in their own right. They would want contract from government.
Now, let me make reference to a statement which was issued in respect to this donation. We know that our own Uchenwara, he's the director of media and publicity, City Boys Movement Southeast Zone. So he issued a statement yesterday, which was, in that very statement, there was a quote that was attributed to Bikubana. He said, we are happy with the support of our people, especially the Igbo business community. More will still come. There is an opportunity to drive change from inside by actively participating in the mainstream politics of Nigeria. For a long time, we have suffered marginalization because we did not engage in the right political process. Now, we are putting in the hard work to secure a better socio-economic future for the people of the Southeast. So, Tony, some people will tell you that in politics, you have to play in the mainstream if we are to be able to get anything for your people. And they are saying that that is what they are doing, that if they're going to contribute now, before the election, after the election, of course, when they begin to share the spoils, they can comfortably ask for something to be given to them.
You know, most times, everyone who made contribution to any success story will make or have a right of entitlement. Yes, if you are part of the success, you as well have right to feel entitled. We know very well. And most of these businesses, these billionaires you think they don't take loans from bank? You think they don't take loans from different bodies or lenders? They do all those things. And many of them, they would want to do their business without security agencies going after them or harassing them, molesting them. There were times, I think it was Obi Kubana or Chief Priest, Kubana Chief Priest. He was caught sometime on camera spraying money. Recall that he was arraigned by EFCC, but we saw how he was able to settle with EFCC. But there was somebody who also did the same thing, Bob Risky. We saw Bob Risky serving a jail term in prison, the same offense, different punishment. One was able to settle with EFCC, and I think that Hans did not interplay in all those struggles, and many couldn't even understand why Kubana Chief Priest was quick. He didn't even spend a night in any detention facility, but he was quick to come out. Somebody must have played a very big role, and Cheyi Tinubu may have played a role to ensure that that matter was amicably settled. And many of them would also be gratitude to Cheyi Tinubu for different roles he had played in their business expansivity. Many of them have had some easy ways in either accessing certain funds legally and at the same time having their bids tendered to different parastatals to be considered. So he has played one role or the other. It is time for them to also show appreciation. So they are doing it for friendship's sake.
Okay, so Tony, let's also mention one other local politics that is not captured in the papers. Talking about yesterday we saw a letter written by the Igbo of Nnewi to Anambra governor concerning the, should I say the struggle of who is going to the struggle over which quarter is going to go for the mayorship for Nnewi North. In fact, the letter was explicit, signed by the Igbo of Nnewi, and this Igwe is somebody who is very, very well revered. Somebody who has advanced in age and is very, very much respected. Now, I'm just going to take a slight excerpt from that very letter. He said, "I am writing to you not as a politician, but as a concerned father who is looking at a big fire raging to consume his land. Please help save Nnewi from disintegration. It is rightfully the turn of Nnewi to produce a mayor." But some persons are looking at it from another point of view. They said that because of people's political ambition, they have somehow successfully dragged the monarch into an area he was not expected to be dragged into. So, Tony, do you think that this is like trying to drag the monarch into an area that is uncharitable?
First and foremost, I must express profound respect to the Igwe of Nnewi, the Orizi III. He's a centurion. Many don't even know that. He's a centurion, over 100 years. So you find out that he has a special grace from God Almighty. It's a rare possibility in our own time. Having said that, we know very well that since he has come of age, we know that he's now being influenced by some people around him. This letter may have been written by somebody and possibly brought before him for him to append and possibly convince him. And this young man or this old man should be allowed every peace he deserves. They should not drag him into politics. We want him to stay for 120 years. I don't like the idea of trying to drag Igwe. And remember, traditional rulers, they don't play politics. Remember, I've been one of those saying that Nnewi should be allowed or the zoning, but I don't like the idea of bringing traditional rulers into politics. You don't bring them. They are non-partisan. Thoroughly non-partisan. Because if you look around the issue of the local government or the town union law of Anambra State, the PGs, they have the executive power, not even the traditional ruler. Traditional rulers are custodians of culture, heritage, and certain rights. This is their domain, their jurisdiction. Anything that has to do with culture, anything that has to do with rights, norms, values, anything outside that is out of their jurisdiction. So, in totality, anybody, but I wouldn't say our respected traditional ruler, Igbo Rizu, did this in his own mind. They forced him. They brought this thing before him and asked him, "Na Igwe ngwa binyaka eba no efa afa ina ekubumbo." And at this point, he may not reason deeply. And there are those who are trying to use his office to push their own narration. But the most important thing is that it falls outside their jurisdiction. It is not within the jurisdiction of Igwe to get involved in whose turn it is to produce local government mayor. It is not his jurisdiction and function. That aside, let the people in politics play this out. And they should not drag the entire community into it. Because the politicians, most times when they seek one thing or the other, they will try to drag everybody into whatever they are seeking. When they get that, they will forget those who they have brought into the whole mess. They should slug it out. And with the political actors, should also play by rule of engagement. If the political quarters in these 4 towns or 4 villages, as we call them, the 4 villages, Newichi, Umudim, Otolo, and Urago, the 4 of them, but now the question of it is the turn of Newichi. And we have said it yesterday, yet nobody is disputing that it is not the turn of Newichi. Everybody is saying they are to take the next turn, but the one currently going on has not expired. The issue is it a 2-year term or a 4-year term? I have not heard anybody make a clear, distinctive, and verifiable input on how many year term, 2 years or 4 years, because local government system we know has always been 2-year system. But the point now is, some are saying that it was conceived to be 4 years because his governor served 4 years. So I don't know who is saying the truth. Can anybody bring the very document? Because in any arrangement or whatever you want to enter into anybody, you must be documented. Where is the document? Nobody has flagged these documents or flash it before everyone. Nobody has flashed it out.
Okay, so Tony, let me read this thing, because the day I got this very document, I had to save it. Because what has been in contest is, just like you said, the interpretation of what were written, whether it should be for a 4-year or 2 years. Now, I want to read a section from this their very bylaw. It says, the committee decided that a zone will be allowed only 1 tenure for each zoned office, but that in future, a zone shall be allowed to hold that office for a 2nd term if there is an interruption of the first tenure of the incumbent less than halfway through its scheduled duration, except where the incumbent contributed substantially to or was responsible for such interruption. Now, because going through that document, I saw that there was no categorical statement on what a tenure is, whether it's
they did not define the tenure. That is the problem. It's a lacuna. It's one of the things we are pointing out when we are talking about electronic transmission or no electronic transmission. You don't allow vacuums or lacuna to surround whatever you think, so anybody can exploit this. Since you did not define the tenure, it becomes a problem. But I understand those who are making this argument, because we have not had a long stretch of local government system, because local government system has always been disrupted throughout the time we are talking about. This was made in 1997. Then after this was made in 1997, the local government election took place in 1998. They were sworn in 1999, and they served out in 2001. And when they served out in 2001, I don't think we had any other local government election till P2B was about to leave office. That was around 2014 or thereabout. And after that, those people came in with Willie Obiano, and they had I think a few other terms, and immediately their terms expired. No local government election again until Supreme Court ruling that forced every state to ensure democratically elected local government system. So in other words, we have not had a long stretch of local government system. We have not seen where somebody served 2 years and another person took over. But just like we had, in fact, before we start talking about Newich, they said that the other side have had it in 1998 and there was interruption. The other side had it during the time of Willie Obiano. There was interruption. So, and now this side, for the first time, had it, no interruption, and then the issue of respect to what others did. Like in their cases, there was interruption. There was no next election. There was no next election that would have been a precedent anybody can cite, because in this case, you cannot cite any precedent. The precedent that could be cited would be a situation where there was no interruption in tenureship. So, where we've not had successful transition from one local government system or from one local government administration to another, the vacuum still remains.
Okay, so that will be maybe when they have found a way to resolve this, because from what I
They should leave the Igwe
Yeah,
out of this. That's
because-
the point I'm trying to make. They should
because-
leave the Igwe out of this.
from what I have found that other quarters have taken their turns, so it should be the turn of Newich. Maybe if they find a way to resolve this, they might look at their bylaw again and see if there's
And
any way they're going to amend.
look at the beauty of the whole thing. If, let's assume, one thing about us in this life, we are impatient, thoroughly impatient. If the current zone or the village, which is where Anazodo is from, if they are able to do 4-year stretch, it means that in Newich you also have 4-year stretch. That it becomes a precedent. It becomes a precedent. See, they should sort out these things themselves. And remember why they do that. Many of them will respect the decision of the party. But the party will always say that where there is zonal arrangement, it shall always be respected. I think that's the position of Abga. That it shall be respected. But it is not left for them to sort out this lacuna. There is. Nobody will say there is none.
Okay.
There is. They should sort it out themselves. They should leave Igwe out of it.
All right. So these are some of the other things not captured in papers, but they are making headlines or that. Okay, they're catching attention in the local settings of politics. Now let's look at the headlines we have on the newspapers.
You're listening to the Polity. Get involved now.
Okay, you are listening to the Polity on Udala Radio 104.7 FM. My name is Franklin Ebekanda with Tony Olisambeki on the analysis desk. We look at the papers now. We begin with the headlines we have on Nigerian Tribune. And the big story there says alleged religious freedom violations. U.S. lawmakers move to sanction Kwankwaso, Mieti Allah, Fulani militias. The story is on page 11. It has a writer that says NNPP reject bill seeking sanction of Kwankwaso. Another headline says drama as Ebonyi hanger trade word at committee sitting. The story is on page 4 with a writer. Works Minister laments poor funding. On the health sector, this one says when recurrent fever isn't malaria, think lupus. The story is on page 13. Dr. Dedeke, rheumatologist. This very lupus, this kind of disease that triggers your immune system to begin to attack itself. It's quite a bad disease. Then another story says CBN approves BDC's return to forex market, allows purchase of up to $150,000 weekly. The story is on page 7. Nigeria's total capital importation hit $21 billion in 2025. Oduwole, Minister of Trade. The story is on page 6. Dangote Refinery's crude distillation unit, Motor Spirit block. Dangote Refinery's crude distillation unit, Motor Spirit block, hit 650,000 barrels per day capacity. The story is on page 7. And another story says Electoral Act, more groups kick over Senate stands. That story is on page 4 with some writers Bugaje Otomi, Waba, Yerima, others play decision. Dixon, the Kuka Center, Yaga Africa tells NAS Conference Committee to adopt Rest version. Fix Politics Africa wants Senate to rescind unpopular clause. And another story says Olubado hands over suspected land grabber to security operative. That story is on page 3 of the Nigeria Tribune. And from Tribune, we cross over to the Guardian. Guardian has the headline, the big headline to say, North decries 2027 politics despite insecurity. 4,654 deaths in 2025. The story is on page 6. Another story says, Backlash trails Senate's version of new Electoral Act. The story is on page 3. Transport Ministry received 1% on 2025 allocation, rose over 70%. The story is on page 3. U.S. lawmakers one visa ban, asset freeze on Mieti Allah, Kwankwaso. That story can be found on page 3 of the Guardian newspaper. Oduwole declares $21 billion capital inflow in 10 months. You can see the story on page 5 of the Guardian newspaper. Correctional Service earmarks Correctional Service earmarks 14.83 billion naira for inmate feeding. That story is on page 3 of The Guardian. Other headline says NAFDA denies FG suspension of sachet alcohol ban enforcement. It's on page 8. BOI disbursed 636 billion naira to 7,000 enterprises in 2025. That story can be found on page 2 of the Guardian newspaper. How botched broadband plans ruin e-transmission of election result. You can see the story on page 6. Electricity workers threaten strike, allege anti-labor practices. That story can be found on page 5 of the Guardian newspaper. Then let's go over to the Vanguard. Vanguard also has some interesting headlines, and one of them is U.S. reps propose visa ban on Kwankwaso, Miyetti Allah, others. That story can be found on page 5 with some riders. As U.S. lawmakers present bill on Christian religious persecution in Nigeria, seek terrorist designation for Fulani militias. We are shocked. We respond at appropriate time. Kwankwasia movement. Kwankwaso caught in web of international hypocrisy, blackmail. NMPP, that is his party, reacting. This headline says Umahi vows to resign if Abuja Kaduna Kano Road project fails quality test. That was yesterday when he went to defend the budget of his ministry before National Assembly Committee on Works. That story can be found on page 6 of Vanguard newspaper. Insecurity, poverty worsening in North. ACF raises alarm. Page 15 of Vanguard. Senate demand in full implementation of defense budget warns against delays. The story can be found on page 9. Go Nigeria urges deeper democratic reform beyond elections. Page 15. I could be arrested anytime. El Rufai. Page 26 of Vanguard. FG orders NAFDAC to halt sachet alcohol ban enforcement. The story is on page 9. But guess what? Yesterday evening, NAFDAC issued a statement saying that it has not received any formal notification that the enforcement has been stopped. So, are they playing games or what? Another headline we have on Vanguard says capital importation hits $21 billion in 10 months. Minister, the story is on page 19. Kidnappers abduct police officer, 4 others in Edo, page 6. Dangote refinery hits 650,000 barrels per day capacity. The story is on page 19. And this one is about Lagos demolition. Makoko demolitions. Fate of 1,000 school children hangs in the balance. That story is on page 21. And the last story we are going to take from the front page of Vanguard is a picture story of Governor Soludo's visit to the president yesterday. And it has a title that says Tinubu hosts Soludo Mekofo. You can see that on the front page of Vanguard. Then, the headlines we have on Punch newspaper. The big story says religious freedom violations. APC, NMPP back Kwankwaso as U.S. tensions rises. The story is on page 2. It has a rider. U.S. Congress gets bill proposing visa ban. Asset seizure for ex-Kano governor, others. Daniel Amusu absent as Abiodun endorses Tinubu for 2027. The story is on page 29. 12 Nigerians nabbed in Ghana prostitution crackdown. That story can be found on pages 4 and 5 of the Punch newspaper. Tinubu names new Nahakon chair as Hajj disruption fears mount. It's on page 12. Cybercrime. Court jails 2 Chinese directors, 92 years. The story can be found on pages 4 and 5 of the Punch newspaper. El Rufai anticipates arrest as police detain allies. That story can be found on page 29. And this one says Kwara massacre, survivors traumatized after deadly attack. Soldiers occupy deserted community. Page 3 of the Punch. Senators clash as Umahi Defense Ministry spending. Page 29. Coup plotters will face justice. Air Chief. That story is on page 14. And the last story says blackout. 300 billion naira power lifeline for hospitals, varsities hits snag. That story is on page 19. And these are the headlines we have this very morning on the front pages of the papers we have. So next will be for us to bring you the analysis on a couple of the headlines we have this very morning. Stay with us.
You're listening to The Polity. Get involved now.
Okay, thank you for staying tuned to Udala Radio 104.7 FM. You are listening to The Polity. My name is Franklin Ebekan, down with Tony Lisambeki on the analysis desk. Don't forget that on our Facebook page, you can drop your comment there. Udala Radio 104.7 FM on Facebook. The video is already up. So, Tony, let's begin with the picture story we have, where we see the picture of the governor of Anambra State, Professor Chukwuma Soludo, the picture of Mr. President, and the Semeko for the two were at the presidential villa yesterday, where they had a closed-door meeting with Mr. President. Then after the meeting, Anambra governor spoke to the media, and he spoke about what the government has been able to do in insecurity and trying to restart business life on Mondays. But people are asking questions about what actually happened behind the closed doors. Do you have the information?
Am I at the closed door meeting? So there's no way I could have any information about what transpired between Mr. President and Emeka. The only thing I know very much, pretty well, was that Sir Emeka did his 67 years birthday, and it was something he celebrated. He called out some people, and then the governor, I spotted him in the video I saw on social media, because I didn't see any special video. Nobody sent anything to me. But the ones that was uploaded on social media, I was able to spot the governor and other guests who were at the venue of that very birthday celebration. I didn't even know where that took place. I don't even know whether it took place in Abuja or Lagos or in Orifte. But in any case, I'm also much aware that his birthday usually comes every 10th February. Yeah, I'm aware of that. So I think that's much I know. The next we saw was where both of them met Mr. President. And we know he's the group managing or the CEO of Chrome Group of Companies. And if you also look in West, you find out that EEDC is part of the companies he holds. And many people have reservation about the way and manner EEDC supply electricity, especially in the southeast, and the tariff system and some other things, but which is also across other regions, because it is not an isolated case. Nevertheless, what could be the area of discussions they had at the closed door section? Emeka is a businessman, and the governor is the governor of Anambra State. Of course, he has always addressed Emeka as his friend, and he has also addressed Mr. President as his own friend. They are all friends, business-wise. I don't know when that started. But as for what happened at the closed-door section, I do not know. But one thing I know for sure will be situations where whatever that will come to Anambra State, whatever. Because my idea is, if they can use their friendship to attract even the dredging of Onitsha dry port, or even the Oguta Lake, the one we talked about, any meaningful port to southeast, if they can use their friendship with Mr. President to bring in this project, that is where this friendship should count, and that's where many people from southeast will always look at. That is my own area of concern, because Mr. Governor yesterday told the president he has busted about 62 camps, criminal camps. And in the last Monday, he said about 45,000 shops opened their markets, opened their shops at different markets in Onitsha. He told Mr. President some of these things. And because immediately he came out from the closed door section with Mr. President, he was able to brief journalists some of these things they said, but he came out with those ones. But the key thing for me is this friendship. Let whatever friendship we exchange with anybody be of good to our people.
People are trying to link the meeting to 2027 politics.
Okay.
And they're trying to talk about the friendship we have seen between the governor and Semeko. And that friendship dates back to before the governor's second term. We saw how everything happened. In fact, the day Mr. President came to Anambra State, Sai was among those people who were given opportunity to speak to Mr. President. And he was one of those people that told Mr. President, we want him to continue. And we have seen that friendship spanning, even to the point of when Anambra was trying to conceive the state body that will be in charge of power regulation. We saw how everything happened. So people are trying to maybe cross some T's, dot some I's, do some linkage, whether it is based on rumor, whether it's based on inferences or just permutations. They are saying it's linked to 2027 politics. Do you think so?
Well, we know very well that 2026 is a year of politics. And we know pretty well that Mr. President is coming out for a second term. We talked about the City Boy movement, championed and powered by Sheyi Tinubu's son. And we talked about so many Southeast billionaires who have been co-opted into that very movement, and many of them have made meaningful donations to that very movement, to the detriment, to the way many people do not see it as being what it should be. So to the chagrin, I think that's the word I wanted to use, to the chagrin of many Southeasterners too, and that chagrin means to the disappointment of many of them who feel that they could have done otherwise. And politics, let me say this, is a game of number, a game of interest. But what type of interest? We have regional interests, you have state interests, and you also have individual interests. But I've always said many times in many programs that regional interest at all time comes first. And after regional interest, you can now talk about state interest. And after state interest, you can also talk about individual interest. And I have always said that we cannot put all our eggs in one basket. I don't support that kind of politics. We did it during the time of Buhari. And Buhari said that we gave him how many percent votes? Was it 5? And then he said he gave us 5. That in the real sense, if we were to distribute certain things, he would also give the region that gave him 5. So, if we play the kind of politics, I want us to be in every party, every movement. Let those that will support Tinubu from Southeast. Let those that will support P2B support P2B from Southeast. I don't want the situation where all of us will be in one basket. I don't support that idea. I know I've always said it. For those who have known me before now, I have been consistent about it. We played that kind of politics during the time of Jonathan, and the Jonathan lost. And we continued that politics even in 2019. What happened? And we continue that politics even in 2023. What happened? We are still neglected. We must play politics of either here or here. That's the kind of politics I have always admonished. Either here or what? Here. Let those that will be here, queue up. Let those that will be on the other side, The idea is whichever one sell, we will not be shortchanged, will not be disadvantaged. If Tinubu wins, and there are so many Southeasterners that push him, that supported him, you think he will forget them? He will not. He will reward them, not individually, with projects. And if we support P2B, there are those that support P2B, and if he wins, what do you think will happen? He will not forget those who supported him. He will also reward them. So where you support one of them, let's assume all of us supported Tinubu and P2B wins, he will focus, despite the fact he's from Southeast, he will go and start doing work in the North. Take it or leave it. Obasanjo did it as a president because the Southwest did not support him in his quest. They supported Olufale. We saw it. And when he came, what did he do? He fixed people that supported him. And why their people started crying, he started telling them, you see, but they came back in 2003. And you know what happened? Though some will say that, the kind of elections we had that period, it was selection process. But many of Southwestern states were converted to PDP. And that was how they saw certain development. So the key thing is, it's not about emotion. I have said, anyone who will support Tinubu should do so. And if you think you should support P2B, do so. And if you see anybody supporting Tinubu, don't hold anything against him. Don't hold anything against him. The person is within his own right. You don't say he's sabotaging the Southeast agenda. No, the person is diversifying our agenda. He's not restricting our agenda. You don't restrict your agenda. You don't restrict your quest. You diversify it. Let those that will support Tinubu go on and support Tinubu. Because the governor has said he is going to support Tinubu, and Bekofa has said he's going to let them support Tinubu. And it is good for me. Then those who say that they will support P2B also do so. Okay. No animosity. Let's play that politics.
Okay, so let's go for a commercial break. Once we return, we delve into what happened yesterday during defense of the Ministry of Work budget. Where somebody was telling the other one, I'm a senator in the ruling party. Another person told him that I scored more than you during the election. Let's get on this very break.
You're listening to The Polity. Get involved now.
Udala Radio 104.7 FM.
Mama, you don't make me fall in love.
Love is in the air, and Stanel Group is bringing it to you live this Valentine's Day.
Stanel Group got you covered for your unforgettable Val Day filled with romance, fun, and excitement.
Join us on Saturday, 14th February 2026, Forever Love Night at Stanel Operator Rest Lounge. Reservation only.
Table for 2 at 100,000 naira for 3-course meal with a glass of wine.
Table for 4 at 180,000 naira for 3-course meal with a glass of wine.
There will be side attractions such as jazz music, live band, saxophonist night, Valentine-themed background.
On Sunday, 15th February 2026, for Igbo cultural music and spoken words of love.
Stanel Fast Food, where you get couples delight and Valentine's perfect combo. Also, Stanel Supermart, where you get his and she's special gift.
Come with your partner, your friends, or even come solo. Love is better when shared. Come and be part of this most epic love celebration in Oka. For inquiry or reservation, visit Stanel World Agoka or call 0814 565 6920. Repeat 0814 565 6920.
You don't make me fall in love. You don't make me fall in love.
From the commercial city of Onitsha comes Udala Radio 104.7 FM, the voice of the region, where authentic news and entertainment meet. Udala Radio 104.7 FM, seriously authentic.
You're listening to The Polity. Get involved now.
Thank you for staying tuned to Udala Radio 104.7 FM. It's 4 minutes past 10 a.m. and you're listening to The Polity. My name is Franklin Ebeka. Tony Olisambeki is on the analysis desk. So move from Anambra State to go to Abuja to see what happened yesterday during defense of the budget of the Ministry of Works, which is headed by Minister David Mahi, former governor of Ebonyi State. In fact, that defense was a combined effort by the two chambers. So it was a joint committee work that they did yesterday. And the Senator Hanga happens to be the presiding officer because he's the deputy chairman of that very committee. So in the absence of the chairman, he had to preside over that very sitting yesterday. But the problem began first of all because initially it was an exchange between Adamso Shomole and Devu Mahi, because some questions were being asked on why a certain project was given to a company that was not known to be a household name when it comes to construction. Because according to Oshomole, the person who was given a contract was initially involved in importation of generator and what have you not. But at a point in time, I think Umahi didn't find that very remark very complimentary, and he fled up. But at the end of the day, they were able to, contain their angers, settle their own before it then gone to the turn of Senator Nwebonyi and Senator Hanga. Perhaps let's get to listen first. Let's listen to the first one before we get to the second one, and then bring you the analysis on what actually happened that very yesterday.
Because we are, as you said, we shouldn't look at our areas alone, we should look at the country. I share the concern of the chairman about Abuja Kaduna Road. You have no regret in revoking it from Julius Berger. Fine. I am not a director of Julius Berger. I probably will also do the same for our institutions. But what I fail to understand is why you award the contract to a new company that is formed by Mecano. Mecano has been known for generator distribution. Mecano, yeah. They own the company. Mecano. Yeah, whatever you call it. You have to excuse my accent. They have no history of road construction.
No.
So why will you take a job from a reputable company and give it to an unknown company that has no record of having worked anywhere? If it did, those working on the road now, we would like to know the name and then the project they have done before over the past 10 years or 20 years in Nigeria. Because it's all about reputation. When I travel through that road, because I'm also a Kaduna man, I could see, you see the tractors. Whether they are working or not is arguable. It's like what I saw when I was a governor. Say, ongoing, I go there, I see a tractor that is not moving. And you see it, all over the place. This Kaduna Road is not a miracle, it's not rocket science. Whether it's by concrete or it's by asphalt, as an engineer, sir, you know that the real issue is not the choice between concrete and asphalt. Because if the concrete is also poorly done, specification poorly weak, supervision almost zero, contractor incompetent, the fact of you concrete is not a magic word that delivers quality. I think we should settle on that. And even the failure of our asphalt is not the result of by this asphalt. It is poor specification, sometimes compounded by poor supervision. Because we travel around the world. Asphalt is not synonymous with fair roads. No, there are issues that are more complex than that. But actually, it meant that this song will not be used. If it will be used, it will have no consequences. And we are saying this cannot be Mr. President's wish, because you mention President every other minute. I know the President, and I know this is not his wish. We, the National Assembly, carriers of God in total, the renewed hope agenda of Mr. President. His talking is not a renewed talking of Mr. President. It's a complete betrayal of Mr. President's laudable objective, which the National Assembly has completely keyed into across party lines. Good. That's it. So are you judging? Because we are, as you said.
Okay, so what you just heard now is the what gave rise to that very exchange between Adam Soshomole and the Dave Umahi. So the next one you're going to hear is the exchange that happened between Senator Nwebonyi and then Senator Hanga. Will now bring you the entire story. Okay, so we're going to bring that very one. But Tony, looking at what happened yesterday, it was a heated argument between two senators over what somebody can say could be flimsy, because the issue was that Senator Nwebonyi was making a statement and they said he was spending time to eulogize Umahi. And the chairman of the committee told him to forget about praising Umahi and go straight to the point, and he picked an offense. So let's start from there, Tony.
Well, the clips you've played have explained everything. It has explained everything anyway. But we know very well that it was dramatic. It was dramatic, and then I was ashamed when these things were happening. It's all about interest. It's all about interest. But it was a case where many Nigerians, felt disappointed and said, look at the people who have been sitting on our common patrimony, our resources. Look at how they are dramatizing over it. It's a case of interest and no more, no less. So, but if you want me to break down some of the things they said, of which you have done that, we saw how hunger. You look at a point, the senator who was actually in place for indisposed chairman of that very committee, the Senator Hanger, they started behaving like children. For me, I don't see why the issue of I'm your senior, I'm not your senior, I scored this and you did not score this, why it should be of concern. It should not be of concern in any case. Well, we know very well that, yes, I saw one of them, I think Senator Hanger saying that Weboy was looking his masters, whatever, he's praising his master. And we know very well Weboy was actually out for that. He was actually out to defend Umahi, not to do anything in the interest of his constituents or in the interest of Nigerians. But we know very well that those senators are out to also bring Umahi down, to paint him as somebody who is not doing any work. So it was a case of the two interests, trying to see who is going to with the order. Yes, Umahi, of course, was defending a budget of how many trillion? The budget of 3-point-something trillion. And we saw in that very budget that it is something, I think, outside defense. It is the next ministry to have such a humongous amount in the 2026 budget. 3.245 trillion as capital expenditure. Of course, he told us that 660 billion is earmarked for new projects across Nigeria's 6 geopolitical zones. And according to him, he said that these are separate from the 4 legacy projects inherited from previous administration, like the Akwanga Jos, Bauchi, Gombe, Meduguri Road. So, but he also complained that funding has been their major challenge. He revealed that only about 9% of the 2025 capital budget has been released so far, and the federal government owes contractors around 2.2 trillion for works done in 2023 to 2024, and an estimated 7 trillion is needed to fully fix Nigeria's roads. That's what he said. But I understand where Ochomolu was actually telling him that how can he be complaining about funds, and asked him if Mr. President is aware that 9% of such budgetary allocation for 2025 was released. He said that Mr. President was not aware, and he said you attend the federal executive cabinet meeting, so why couldn't you make it known to Mr. President, or even in the meeting with Mr. President, that funds have been challenged and such amount has not been released? He was trying to exonerate Mr. President, because I think there was a video I saw where he made such complaint before Mr. President. He had made the complaint before Mr. President, and he told Mr. President that Wale Edun, who is the Minister of the Economy and Coordinating Minister, was the one suffocating funds meant for this project. And Wale Edun was trying to clarify his position that funds are allocated based on certain criteria of which he mentioned. But when Ochomolu was asking him the same question yesterday, is Mr. President aware? He said Mr. President is not aware. So I'm aware that Mr. President is aware of these complaints he's making. So he was trying not to bring Mr. President into the whole thing. But just like I said earlier on, we find out that he removed Julius Berger, a major construction firm, and we assigned that project to Mekano. And we are talking about Abuja, Kaduna, Zaria, Kano Road. That's the road we are talking about, a major flashpoint in the country's road at arteries. But he has his reasons that Julius Berger has not been up and about in taking on that very project. So, but Ochomole was quick to point to him that Mekano is known for generator, that is lister. The listers we see most places in most of these big men houses. You see Mekano, that lister, or the one we call me lister. So that's what they are known for. But Umahi challenged Ochomole and other lawmakers to go on inspection, joint inspection, to find out if the road is substandard. He said that based on the road specifications, everything. So I'm telling them, forget the name of the contractor. The most important thing is to look at the project, to look at the work done. So before we know what was happening, the where boy, we know very well Elmai is his boss. There's no doubt. He brought him in. He's a small boy, a young man anyway. That's what I mean. So he went to praise his boss.
Let me come in here because where this whole thing is going to tilt to is this tendency of whereby, somebody comes for budget defense, and it's a platform for people who are representing us to query what has been budgeted. And then because of one interest or the other, somebody's trying to protect one interest or the other, because we also saw that it happened also yesterday in the committee that has Senator Natasha Polity, where she was trying to ask questions and then she was stopped for asking questions. Maybe if we can get a clip of this very one, so that you hear a bit of it.
Women, maternal mortality today, the World Bank and WHO holds it at, for every 100,000 women that give birth, 1,047 women die. And I bet you that's a figure generated probably in urban areas where data is easily collected. In the villages, I bet you that figure should trickle if we are looking down to identify the number of women that die when they give birth. So I'm not exaggerating if I say on average nothing less than 10 women die every day. And most of the time they die with their children. No ambulances. Many babies die because there are no incubators. That's an issue.
No, I'm going to cut it here because of time. Because at a point in time, the chairman of the committee stopped her from asking questions, and she fled out why she should be stopped from querying what's supposed to be queried, Tony.
For me, the Senate, they are not in harmony. They have different interests to protect. Because I saw what happened yesterday between Senator Natasha Polity and the chairman of that very committee, the senator representing Okigwe zone in Imo State. So we saw how it happened. And I looked around and I discovered that the senator representing Okigwe, of course, was once in the House of Representatives many years back. That was in the year 1992. But he stopped Natasha Polity Udala from going further with his our questions. But I think he was concerned about the manner. But Nigerians are not concerned about the manners. What Nigerians are concerned about is the work done. It is time to query these people because they are coming for budget defense. The amounts put in their different ministries. You must defend it. You must tell us the ones that was given, what it was used for, the projects done. And for me, I don't see reason she could have been stopped. But you look around, APC, the senator representing Okigwe from APC. So what do you expect? Being that he's from APC, you saw what ordinarily nobody could have expected. And then when the lady was, the Natasha was asking him, don't hit the gavel, don't hit the gavel. The man did not even look back. And then what he did was to hit the gavel. And that's all for now. But my own concern is actually, I'm still going to come back to what happened yesterday between Omai, because even when the senators were feeling that Julius Berger couldn't have been removed from such a project, but Omai was trying to explain that Julius Berger was calling a humongous amount, I think about 1.1 trillion. They raised it from the original figure to 1.1 trillion, and more like holding the government to a ransom. And he felt that they cannot hold government to ransom, but there are other people that can do the project outside Julius Berger, based on the figure they are quoting, and they just came up with that very figure after evaluation and the bid, everything was concluded. But they looked at the project because the project is a very long stretch. So they looked at the project and said that it was going to cost 1.1 trillion or even more to complete the work. They cited inflation, they cited subsidy removal impacts and other factors after 5 years of delay, because the project started about 5 years ago. And the government offered a revised term around 740 to about 800 billion for remaining section of that very road. But Julius Berger reportedly refused. They, according to Mai, they used delay tactics over multiple meetings, over 20 negotiations, according to he mentioned. So it was a case of non-performance. And he accused the company of stopping work, failing to remobilize despite directives, non-compliance with reviewed scope and terms, poor service delivery, and delays. So these were some of the allegations. And then he wanted a faster completion. And President Tinubu reportedly rejected a 3-year timeline and put for 14 months or less in some sections and switched to concrete pavement instead of asphalt to save cost over 640 billion claimed. And that was what Omar was trying to explain to them, why the project was taken away from Julius Berger to Meccano, known for generator distribution and all that. So remember, the contract was not directly awarded to Meccano as a company primarily known for generator, because Meccano International is famous for power generators. But some reports and lawmakers were actually concerned about that name. But in any case, that is not the issue. The actual contract was, I think, Infitius International Limited. That's the name. But they also have a kind of arrangement with Meccano. But the point is, Senator Weboy and Rufai Hanga, remember, Rufai Hanga is Deputy Minority Whip.
Yeah.
And then if you look at Weboy is Deputy Chief Whip of the Senate. So they are comparing their position. The other one is a minority, the other one is a majority, and both of them are deputy in their ranks. Just that Rufai Hanga was standing in place of indisposed chairman of that very committee, because he's not the chairman of the committee. So Weboy was trying to let him know that he's in the ruling party, that you are not in the other, you are not in our party. So you are also, that he's more ranked as far as Senate affairs is concerned than him. So I think it was needless. But he was trying to praise Omai, saying that everybody should support Omai, that he was calling for their members to support him, that he has done well, he has performed credibly well. Nobody has. The man felt so bad that, look at this man we are trying to query. You are here praising.
Okay, because the same thing, because the one that happened with Senator Natasha Akpoti, and the minister who came to defend his budget, he was trying to, they were asking him question about an MOU he signed almost 2 years ago to revive the Ajokote Stealing Estate Company, and he failed. And when he was asked question, he said that it failed because of the Russian-Ukrainian war. So she was not trying to query to understand how it accounted for the failure, and chairman of the community stopped her from going on with that very query. So we are going to leave this at this point and move over to what is happening in the U.S., where five U.S. lawmakers have introduced a bill to the U.S. Congress seeking to impose sanctions on former Kano State Governor Rabi Kwankwaso. They also mentioned Mieti Alakatu Breeders Association of Nigeria, the one known as MACBAN. They also mentioned Mieti Ala Kautahore. They mentioned them. They're saying that they were all involved in violations of religious freedom. In fact, that very bill was introduced by Chris Smith, Riley Moore, the one who has been talking about this issue of a Christian genocide in Nigeria, Brian Mast, Mario Diaz Balart, and Bill Huizenga. They were the ones who introduced the bill in the House of Reps. And if you look at this very bill, what might befall Rabi Kwankwaso and Co. is that they might face visa ban. They might as well have their asset in U.S. seized. And ever since this thing came to the public fore, people have been reacting. APC has reacted. Likewise, NMPP has also reacted. And they are saying that the U.S. is being unfair on Kwankwaso. They were very particular about Kwankwaso. And they said you cannot shave a man's hair in his absence. That they need to hear him out first. That they cannot act based on a one-sided story. So, Tony, where I'm going to now is Kwankwaso we know, or Kwankwaso we may not know. But the question has to start from somewhere. If you look at Kwankwaso, is there any record or prima facie in the public domain, whether when he was a governor or when he was a private citizen, that links him to alleged violations of religious freedom in Nigeria? I'm talking about Kwankwaso.
Well, just like Kwankwaso has reacted in his own right, he has strongly rejected that very rejected the whole thing, describing it as a shock, unfair, and erroneous. And he called it internal or international hypocrisy and potential blackmail. And I am aware that he has demanded that his name be removed. For me, if he's actually serious, he should sue the lawmakers even when they have legislative immunity, because they cannot be sued based on the activities at the U.S. Congress or on the floor of U.S. Congress. They cannot be sued. So but they are making a proposal. So it remains a proposed bill. So I know very well before it becomes a law, it will need passage. But if you look at some of the things they said against Kwankwaso, it's not good at all. And if you look at the 5 lawmakers, according to reports, we have Riley Moore from West Virginia, and then he's a member of Republican Party. Even if you look at Chris Smith from New Jersey, he's also a member of Republican Party. And I'm aware that he's the co-sponsor and the chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Africa Subcommittee, and also long-time advocate on religious freedom, no doubt. If you also look at Brian Mast from Florida, I think he's also a member of Republican Party. If you look at Mario Diaz-Balart from Florida again, also a member of Republican Party. If you also look at Bill Huizenga from Republican Party, who's also from Michigan. So if you look at this, you find out that they are all from one party. So, and if you look at that bill, the bill in question was praising past U.S. actions, designating Nigeria as a country of particular concern under Trump, and urges stronger measure due to claims of lack of prosecutions and government failures, especially in the area of religious freedom and the religious persecution or Christian persecution, as you can have it. So the primary target of that very bill is Rabbi Musa Kwankwaso. And then you also have Miati Allah Cattle Breeders Association, Magban. You also have Miati Allah Cattle Hore. You also have Fulani ethnic nomad militias in Nigeria. They describe many of them either by Lakurawa and so many other people. But there are many Nigerians that will support that of Miati Allah. Some Nigerians will also support that of Miati Allah Katuhure. There are some Nigerians that will also support that of Fulani ethnic militias. But that of Rabbi Musa Kwankwaso, the only individual mentioned in that very bill, people are viewing it with mixed reactions. Because their target is ASEC's physics. Whatever ASEC, if this becomes a law, Kwankwaso's ASEC anywhere in US or any country that US have any form of understanding or treaty with will be frozen. There will be visa ban, visa restriction, and there could be other measures against Kwankwaso deemed responsible for severe religious freedom violation. He's been accused of violating religious freedom during his time as the governor of Kano State. And if you look at the sponsors of that very bill, they say that their aim is to address what they describe as ongoing religious persecution, mass atrocities, and severe violations of religious freedom in Nigeria, particularly the persecution of Christians. And then they have also called for
So is he being unfairly put to the sword? Because if you look at what these lawmakers are saying, they made a trace to when he was the governor of Kano State, when he enacted Sharia law in that very state, saying that with Sharia law, some Christians were persecuted. But people are asking questions. If you are making reference to Sharia law, what happens to other former governors of Jigawa State, Yobe, Katsina, even Zamfara and Sokoto, the likes of Ahmed Irima? So why were they not mentioned? Why Rabbi Kwankwaso?
That is the concern. Because Rabbi Kwankwaso, of course, we know very well what he's coming out for. I don't know if that 9 million naira is still the reason why these things are happening. If you look at these people, they are all from the same political party. I don't know if they have interest in the company that the 9 million was given to launder the image of Nigeria, and also see if they can lobby the U.S. government against whatever action they have against this country. And if you look at the primary allegation they tied Kwankwaso to was just during his time as the governor. Remember, Kwankwaso was a governor for non-consecutive 4-year terms from 1999 to 2003 and from 2011 to 2015. So I know very well that he implemented and expanded Sharia law in the state, and I also recall that he signed laws that made blasphemy punishable by death. He signed law on that, I recall, because our own is to speak truth to power, to say things that happen and the ones that did not happen. So I'm aware that if we look at what Riley Moore was so much concerned that Kwankwaso caused the deaths of many Christians during the Sharia implementation in Kano State. So he was so much concerned about that. And if you look around, there has not been any proven individual that you would say, yes, he caused his death. You pointed out earlier on, what about the man that started this issue of Sharia in Nigeria? Sani Yerima. That's the way we know him, former governor of Zamfara State from 1999 to 2007. He was the one that from nowhere, we know very well that the Sharia is mentioned in our constitution. Of course, it's more like religious law. But they expanded it to areas that it ought not to have jurisdiction. That's the problem I have with it. Because the issue of Sharia should have been on issue of marriage, custom, inheritance. That's what Sharia should ordinarily have jurisdiction on. Inheritance, marriage, burial, in accordance with Islamic law. But they expanded it to other criminal related angle. When you blaspheme, they impose certain severe sanctions. But sometimes when the timing of this is suspicious, there is no doubt, because we know very well that Kwankwaso is making efforts to see.
So you think it's politics?
Of course, it could be politics, because these U.S. lawmakers, many of them have interest. They have lobbying companies. So I don't know whose company may have been lobbying. Of course, you understand that he will call his colleague to support whatever effort he's making. They could have expanded the whole scope. There were other northern governors who implemented Sharia. We looked at the one that happened in Sokoto. Did it not happen? Where Leo Charibu, Deborah, did we see that? There were those who were actually involved in the death of Christians. I had thought that this U.S. Congress, these lawmakers, if they wanted to be impartial, if they wanted to be thorough, they could have expanded it. We know those who implemented, expanded, and signed Sharia laws that were so severe and are against our constitutions, and at a point tried to. What about Hizbah as we speak right now?
It's operating in Kano.
Of course, and even Kwankwaso also spearheaded it. I'm not exonerating him, but I'm saying that the whole thing, he is the only individual mentioned, apart from the Magban and then the other Fulani ethnic militias. But he's the only individual mentioned in that very bill.
All right. We have a commercial break now. After the break, we'll take your calls. Don't forget that the phone lines are 0803-221-6973 or 0803-827-6694.
Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
Quality bread, Wendy's bread, for your family breakfast. Wendy's bread, Wendy's bread, Mama, Papa, they like Wendy's bread, Wendy's bread, even children, they like Wendy's bread, Wendy's bread, Wendy's bread, you get it better, tasty, we go sweet your belly. Wendy's bread, Wendy's
Wendy's bread, tasty bread. You can contact us on our official address, Second Business Park, Enugu Road, GRA, beside Onitsha, Anambra State. We also have another branch at St. Michael Plaza at Tani Road. Also contact us on 070-1149-1571. Wendy's bread, your tasty bread.
Wendy's bread.
When you think of roofing, think of strength. When you think of durability, think of beauty. And when you think of all three combined, think Best Aluminium MFG Limited. At Best Aluminium, we don't just manufacture roofing sheets. We create protection, comfort, and style for your home and business. Whether you're building from scratch or repairing an old roof, we have exactly what you need. Our products include stone-coated roofing sheets, aluminum roofing sheets, and colored roofing sheets. But that's not all. We also offer residential and commercial roofing services, roof repairs, gutters, emergency emergency roofing services, and even durable cookwares that bring quality to your kitchen. Visit us today at 30/32 Anyika Street, Awada Obosi, Anambra State, or call us right now on 0806 416 2374 or 0706 059 6203.
Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
You're listening to The Polity. Get involved now.
Okay, you're listening to Udala Radio 104.7 FM, and this is the Polity. My name is Franklin Ebeka, and I'm with Tony Olisambeki. So we are going to go to the phone lines now to take your reactions on the issues we have unveiled this very morning. 0803-221-6973 or 0803-827-6694. Good morning.
Good morning, my Frank.
Good morning, your name?
My name is Ignatius Okoye from Mauritius Kingdom.
Go on, Mr. Ignatius.
Good morning, my speaker, Tony.
You're welcome. It's good to have you.
The allegation against Pampasto, it has political undertone, as I'm seeing it. You see, it was during his governorship leadership when he was the governor in the Kano State, and Igbo man was beheaded from Imo. That the wife used Quran to clean the sheet of the buttocks of the child. The man was killed and hung his neck on his stick. It was then June year. There was a woman that was told to say in the market. Was somebody that alleged that he blasphemed. So all these things, I think this is what is happening. America, they knew all those things. And another thing I am thinking, is maybe the powers to be, or some people don't like purpose, because the coming out to be the president of this country. And I like that I want to start people to be trying to match to be the president of the president and vice. So all these who confront all these things, like our brother, who is saying about those people. If they, Yarima and others, if they try to come up a higher position that way, many things will be coming out against them. What they did during their leadership in their states.
Okay.
So this is what they have, and it's a very big bet to Kwankwasia. I'm telling you honestly, his presidential this issue will be affected. P2B, who is trying to be taking as the right running mate, should be careful. Thank you, my speaker. I'm done.
All right. Thank you for joining. Let's see who we have on this second line. Good morning. Hello.
Good morning, my speaker.
Good morning.
My name is Josh. Calling from Asaba.
Josh, go on.
Yeah, first, let me say something here. You see, all these bonds of nature that is wasting our money on, they are just a bunch of failure. Mostly the person of that weapon. You see, I don't really know how these guys find their way to be even in the corridor of leadership in this country. If you watch the accident of that young man, you know that it's just a big failure and a mistake that he find himself there, because we are seeing the way that he's doing what he's doing. Likewise, the one that you don't want people to scrutinize somebody that bring that kind of budget. Imagine that kind of amount. Are you sure that let me assume something now that Tinubu did not re-elected in 2027. Are you sure that the next person is going to come on board is going to carry on with that project? That is why we have so many abandoned projects all over the place. Why can't you take a kind of project that you know that you may finish? The thing we just have only 1 year in office. You don't know what is going to happen at the end of the day. That is why the board of fire says that to tell this Igbo young man, he's not telling them to not support you. You can support anybody you want to support. It's your business. Nobody cares. But why can't you negotiate? When this fire approaching you, why can't you negotiate on something that will benefit the people? Look at the problem that people are facing in Southeast today just because of one man. It's incarceration. Why can't you use those your power and your connection? Why everything must be business and money in Nigeria? Everything business, everything money. So why can't you say, okay, we should people know our values and you are processed on. Why can't them think of how to discuss and negotiate? Because we are already know that the problem of Nanikano is a political solution. Why can't they start now? Why are they going to start? Or are they waiting for it to finish in the appeal before we now come in the full-blown negotiation? Even the so-called the governor of Hanama State and the one that went to go and meet the president.
Hello?
When are they going to start that negotiation?
Hello?
Let us start that political solution.
Hello?
When?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me first?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, the governor of Anambra State is not so-called governor. Please take note. It is not so-called governor. No matter whether you feel bad or you don't feel bad, please don't address the governor as a so-called governor. It's not good for radio, please.
Listen.
Okay, please take note. Take note.
Hello.
Yeah, hello. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Thank you very much for taking my call. Chief Tony Olisambesi, thanks a lot. You're talking yourself wise, and I'm enjoying the joke. You know, sometimes it becomes so parochial. You know, and you begin to wonder. It's also a comedy of errors where you don't really know where we are going to or where we are coming from. The way the government is so pathologically corrupt, you don't know what to say. And then the administrators are not doing better for it. And then we say America is coming, America is going and all that. If you are capable of looking after yourself, America will not come, will it? No. You want on image me and only also in your laka. But now, Bamba. For the other India model, in the Senate, in the House of Assembly. What exactly do they think they are doing? Do you know, if I call some of them semi-illiterate, please don't blame me. Because they don't talk like they know what they are there for. They even forgot the people they got there to look after. It's so annoying, sometimes ridiculous, but terribly annoying. By the grace of God, things will change in our beautiful country. Don't mind them.
All right, thank you. Thank you for joining. Hello, good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Yeah, your name?
Franklin. I'm the doctor Udala speaking.
You're welcome.
Good morning to you all. This is Chidi Chukuma joining you from Bo.
Go on, sir.
Yes, before I forget it, your submission on the intervention of the Royal Majesty of Leo. Please, I'm interested in that matter, and there is impression that I want to correct. Because the Royal Majesty, if a timely intervention, for me, is commendable. Because that is the crisis. The reason why this rotational arrangement in different places is for the peace to reign. And now that maybe that somebody somehow is trying to truncate it and is now intervene. Because if he fails to do so, really people will still blame him for not reacting timely. And that is why I will not blame him or accuse him of participating in politics, because he did not mention the name of anybody that is supporting. It only mentioned that it's the form of a particular people from his domain. we are too forgetful. We have a very short memory these days. And that is why we don't have the record of one Kwaso's activity during his term. And the Ignatius are trying to remind us of some of those things that happened during his term. And the US, they have to start somewhere. I know that so many heads will roll in this matter because there are so many records of killings and support of Sharia. How can you bring such a different ideology parallel in a state?
Okay.
And you feel that the people will fold their hand. That is what the US is trying to do now. That so many people are involved and
right.
they are coming
Thank
up
you.
one by one.
Thank you.
Them.
Thank
Good
you.
morning.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for dropping your comment. Hello, good morning.
Hello, Franklin. Good morning.
Yes, good morning. Your name?
I also greet you, Honorable Chief Dr. Kenneth Sambeki.
You're welcome.
I am Principal Eloy, reaching you from Udala.
Yes, go on.
Soludo, Governor Soludo, going to meet Mr. President. I wish it would be for the release of Nnamdi Kanu because people said it was in a closed door meeting. I wish. But I don't think they discuss about the release of Nnamdi Kanu because if such a thing happened, it would have gone viral. The news, Soludo would have disclosed it so that the people will know that he is interceding on Nnamdi Kanu's behalf. So such a thing will not transpire between them there. Then I want to use this medium to plead with our able governor, Soludo, Oluwatoyobi, please. I don't know the way about those teachers that were suspended, 7 of them. Please, there is no how students will fail to come to school and the teacher will be punished for that. Because the teacher has themselves were in the school that day. So there is no how they will not create awareness for parents to bring their children to school. Like the school where my children are going, the teacher, the proprietors of the school, they created awareness and advised us to bring our children to school. So I don't know when a child did not come to school, then governor will now go and suspend the teacher there. No, it's not really advisable. So please let him release those teachers. Thank you very much.
Okay, all right, thank you. So you're asking that the suspension should be rescinded. That's what I think. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, your name?
Frank, this is my location. You can come from Onitsha, Mr. Speaker. Good morning to you.
Okay, go on. Good morning.
Thank you very much. Well, let me start with the visit of Soludo to Mr. President. I don't know. We are still in early 2027, 2026. These people are living what they're supposed to do. They have been running around for election 2027. Well, whatever they are thinking. But what Mr. Speaker said, if we like, let all Igbos vote in one, put their eggs in one basket. It doesn't concern anybody. Whether we voted individually in different sides, that will not remove that perception the way they are seeing us. So, whatever they are thinking, if we like, let all our eggs be in one basket. It will never change whatever they are thinking about us. Then, on the side of Juan Kwaso, I commend the Americans, as in the lawmakers that is pushing for that. If we can forget so soon, I will never. I could remember it was on Kwankwaso regime. Igbos in Sabongeri, we are attacked so very well. In fact, so many Igbos that are living in Kano, they are rushing into Sabongeri for safety. It happens under Kwankwaso's government. And imagine, you know that Kano State is not just a small state. So many Southern Christians and even Northern Christians are living there. And in such a state, you are bringing Sharia law. Talk like Lagos State, you know that so many Nigerians are living there. You will come up with Sharia law in Lagos State. And you will think that you want it to work. So many people will be persecuted wrongly. So to me, I am commending those lawmakers. They did their investigation well. And I want them to extend it more to all these some modern politicians who are just like that. Thank you very much this morning.
Yeah, thank you, Mary Kay. Let's get to our Facebook page. Arinze Ijimbwe. He posted from Ibarem fan settlement, and he says APC government wants to destabilize the opposition party by remembering the sins of Kwankwaso now because of his political ambition. P2B should be very careful or else. Retratobia Wikechukwu Christopher from College of Education in Suwe says, if you want to call a spade, or by its name, let's do it boldly. There has never been any true local government election in Anambra State. I'm talking about the ones conducted recently. And this present government is not an exception. And the recent one will still be one-party affairs. And he says no people should quietly handle their affairs internally with ABGA. And he's saying that public outcry will not solve the matter. No, using another party will be dead on arrival because the outcome will not be different. Okay. Also, Francis Ndamani from Amagunzin in Enugu State says it is either electronic transmission of result or nothing. The network provider should be mandated to provide sustainable network across the length and breadth of the country. Henry Elu from Showlight Onitsha says, as an Ebonian and totally against the hoodlum and thug attitude of Senator Nwebonyi, in as much as he was Henry Elu, let me beg you now. You see, radio communication is quite different from what we do. There's a way you're going to describe somebody. I will not be able to read it the way you wrote it. Please try to understand, okay? But what you're saying is that as an Ebonian, that you condemn his attitude. Yes, in as much as you know that he was single-handedly picked by Devu Mahi, okay? And you are saying, having been a senator for over 2 years, I think Mwebonyi should now wear distinguished stature. Okay. Nigerian's president has abandoned governance and is more concerned on lobbying and politicking. Regardless of the conspiracy, Nigerians' voices will be louder 2027, and every conspirator will be left with no option. Dr. Mrs. Molebara from Ore says, let me tell Senator Babio that this their gimmick. Alright, this is a gimmick will never work, as we will never accept this. We will fight this with the last drop of our blood. We cannot fold hands and watch them play on our intelligence. Every herald must be devoured by worms of its own creation, and every pharaoh must be drowned in the sea of his creation. He says God is watching. Tete Patrick says, please can you help me tell Atiku to rest? We Nigerians do not need him. He wants to force himself on us. I don't understand if to be a president is by force. And Okoye Angoleka and Francis. Okay, thank you, because Naman, you posted that to 2 other places. Okay, thank you for dropping by. Certainly, we take reactions before we get to leave. Of course, you heard what people spoke about on different issues they picked on. Let's start from there.
Well, just like I said, let me begin by the one of Newi. Just like I said earlier on, Anambra State Traditional Rulers Law 2007 as amended, and also historical norms from 1981 law onwards positions Igwes, Obis as impartial fathers of their communities. They must avoid partisan politics. They must be neutral. They must also mediate disputes. I'm aware that those who are contesting this position is a political position. Newi Mayor is a political position. And we know very well there's a rotation. And many of them have gone to Igwe and pleaded that he also clarifies. And he said, there is rotation, I'm aware. And that should also end it. And we also advise those who are involved to abide by that. But going further to write to governor and all that, for me, it is needless. Very needless. He's getting himself involved, and some people are pushing him into it. His own is to tell the people the truth and urge his subjects to abide by that. Going to write to governor is extra mile. He's getting himself involved. So for me, he should stay off from that. And then those who are pushing him for this will not remember him when he goes the other way around. Then I have just said earlier on that America, on their own case against the former governor of Kano State, I remember there were famous deaths during. I remember, if you could recall, there was one Lawa. There was even Kaduna riot. We are over 2,000 people died, which some reports had it that they were up to 5,000 in protest against Sharia introduction in Kaduna State in 2000. I remember now. You remember the case of Amina Lawal in 2002 and Safiya Husseini in 2001, where they were stoned to death in Sokoto and Katsina respectively. So these things happened in some of these very states. I'm also asking because some of these governors, I'm aware of Atahiru Bafarawa of Sokoto State. Of course, he saw to the full implementation of Sharia in that state around May 29, 2000. I'm aware of even Adamu Alero, even Muhammad Lawa. There's so many of them. Even Omar Musa Yaradua. He oversaw introduction of Sharia in his own state in 2000, but he became president of Nigeria. So where we are US, when Omar Yaradua was positioned to become the president of Nigeria, a man who saw to the introduction of Sharia in his home state in Katsina State. Even Ahmed Makarafi of Kaduna State, who also made his own introduction, and we saw the riot that killed over 2,000, in some report 5,000. Are we forgetting some of these states? So, but I'm saying that they can start anywhere, no doubt. I support that, but they should also make it broad and thorough. And then, is there another thing that, of course, I think that's much.
Okay, so let me clarify, George, because it's good that people get to understand this very thing. Any governor in Nigeria is not a so-called governor. Whether the person is doing well, is not doing well, whether we like the person, don't like the person, you cannot use that very word. It's not about the governor of Anambra State, but any governor. So please, let's take note.
It's important. And also, I want to add, because when I was saying we must spread our eggs, there were times we spread our eggs. During the time of Alex Ekweme and Zik, many people did not follow Zik. Alex Ekweme was against Zik. Zik was coming for president, loved by Igbos, but he was supporting Cheku Chegare. He was supporting MPN. He became the vice president. In fact, Sisi Ono and Okadibo followed him in that journey. And when Chagare won, we will remember that was when this Onitsha Enugu Expressway was constructed. So they tag the perception, whatever hate you call it. We are not there. Let's play the kind of politics that will make us to belong everywhere.
Okay, so at this point we end today's conversation, and thank you for joining us. At 11, we are going to play you good tunes, and of course it's old school Thursday, so we have to remind you of those things that made you smile some time ago. Thank you for listening. My name is Franklin Ebuka. Good morning.
A city of movement. A city of trade. A city